Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Hansen, Director of Alumni Relations. Just want to say thank you for joining us this afternoon for our Lunch and Learn series. I know that right now we're still all dealing with the uncertainty regarding this pandemic and a lot of circumstances that affect our families. So I just first want to say thank you to our essential workers, healthcare providers, and first responders as they continue day in and day out to keep us safe. As an alumni community, we're here for one another, and I hope that each of you and your families remain safe in these upcoming weeks. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Leah. So Leah Marie is a 92 graduate from Roger Williams with a BS in Business Administration. Prior to her current practice, Leah was Chief Operating Officer and Acting CEO for over 6 years at a mid-sized corporation in healthcare, and also a business owner of a multi-million-dollar company in the housing industry, which she sold back in the mid-2000s. Leah is a certified Chopra instructor, holistic life and stress management coach, corporate wellness consultant, and business consultant. Along with her consulting work, she conducts virtual wellness workshops, group and individual coaching sessions, corporate wellness programs, and she's also certified as a trainer for professional caregivers by the Alzheimer's Association. Leah hosts her own international radio show and podcast called Mind Health Coach, which has aired worldwide for the last 7 years. Today, she'll be sharing holistic approaches to wellness to help with the current state of affairs during this pandemic and beyond. She'll share a preview of powerful Ayurvedic, ancient practices, and other modern day techniques. Welcome, Leah.
Excited to be a part of Roger Williams University's community and sharing this knowledge to help people process and get through this time that's extremely stressful, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. At times there are moments where we think we've got it all under control, but there's an underlying stress that's playing beneath the surface for all of us, and I think it's important that everyone understand how to manage that. So I'm doing my best to share these wonderful techniques that I have been practicing for about 20 plus years and sharing in the medical community for the last decade. So is it okay if I share my PowerPoint at this point? Is that okay? Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right, so you guys heard a lot about what I do. I'm, certified Chopra instructor. I studied under Deepak Chopra and 5 other Ayurvedic physicians. So a lot of my stuff has to do with Ayurveda that I teach, but it also has some other aspects to it as well. One other thing that I've been really an expert in over the last decade, become an expert in, is caring for those with Alzheimer's and coaching those professional care staffs and helping families manage the stress. So it's one of the most stressful experiences in your lifetime, along with divorce and buying or selling a house and death of a loved one, is managing care for somebody with Alzheimer's. So that's how come I have really got a really deep understanding of stress management and helping people through that process. So, and you guys already heard a lot of what I do. Wellness Virtually is a new project that I'm doing. It is a show that's going to be streamed through a platform that is a group of San Francisco filmmakers. They're doing a platform so you can access the show there, and you can also see on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Leah Marie, the Mind Health Coach YouTube channel. And American Wellness Systems and the Mind Health Coach are all interlinked with that. So what I like to talk about is your mindset and your emotions when we're talking about stress. That's really where it all begins. So the journey to self-awareness begins with your emotions. So emotions are derived from our perceptions of needs being met or not met. Emotions are energy in motion, and we feel them as sensations in our body associated with our thoughts in our mind. And the two core emotions are comfort and discomfort. So comfort, you know, that's the good stuff. That's the stuff we really enjoy: gratitude, joy, love, peace. It moves us from constriction to expansion. And discomfort includes all the feelings that constrict us. So those are the feelings that are associated with fear and pain and anger, distress, frustration, and sadness. And I think that a lot of people are probably going through this cycle, which we call in hospice care the grief cycle. And it doesn't really necessarily mean that you have to lose somebody, but we are losing our freedom, and we're losing a lot that is associated with just what we've known for our whole lives, as being able to go anywhere we want, hug who we want, be in the space of others. It's a discomfort that's very confusing for a lot of us, and we're probably going through all of this range of emotion, you know, at certain times in the last month and a half, 2 months. Secondary emotions based on unmet needs, if not resolved, can lead to anxiety and panic attacks, hostility, guilt, depression, resentment. And feelings not experienced fully can accumulate as emotional toxins. And I always let people know how important it is to be mindful of your feelings and where you're at, and ensure that you process them in healthy ways, because you can actually have chronic cortisol production, which would then manifest in certain diseases, like if you have diabetes or fibromyalgia, autoimmune disorders, weight gain in your midsection, even cancer can be activated, heart disease, and also Alzheimer's has been linked to having those feelings, those stressful feelings that are not being properly processed. And that's attributed to the chronic cortisol, which causes inflammation in the body. So it's very important, because your mind generates this inspiration of either the cortisol production, or you can also use your mindset and your thoughts to promote your wellness with you know, certain endorphins that will bring you health and wellness. So the dopamine and the, you know, all of those wonderful endorphins that rush in with gratitude and just deep breathing and just being relaxed, those are important states of being, because that is where you gain a head start on wellness. Now, I'm not saying that you never feel anything negative, because that's life. I mean, we've got to have experiences to grow and learn and evolve. And I think it's happening now with the pandemic. A lot of us are seeing results happening to the environment, and just, you know, maybe there's some positive light in this, where we're seeing people coming together, caring about each other more than we did prior to the pandemic. So being mindful of your mindset on this, and that's meaning, are you reacting to these unmet needs in positive, healthy ways, and are you processing them right? Which is, you know, it can be instinctual, conditioned, and learned behavior, or we can respond. So that implies that we're aware and we're having a choice. So reaction or respond is kind of the question. What is your process when you're being faced with unmet needs? So there's 7 biological responses, and we all want to achieve number 7 eventually. We can all go through this process. The biological responses: fight or flight, reactive, restful awareness, being intuitive about where you're going with it. A lot of people stop at 2 though, believe it or not. So restful awareness is if you are a meditator and you start to look at things in your restful state, and then being intuitive about the navigation process for you, and then getting creative and seeing the vision that things can be healed, things can be resolved for you. So the stress starts to go away. And the sacred response is that all of this is happening for you and not to you. That's kind of the cliche that goes along with, okay, this is what life's all about, and it's happening for you and not to you. So these are some of the physical responses that we have. And this is stuff that you should be mindful of. If you see your saliva flow decreasing and you look in the mirror, you see your pupils are dilated and you're getting the chills and sweating at the same time, you just feel that weird feeling. And your lungs, you're having that shallow breathing, which is quite dominant in American culture. We're often running and trying to do all of this stuff, and we're not taking the nice deep breaths that we should be. Sitting is the new smoking too, so we're doing shallow breathing and sitting a lot in front of terminals, so that's not good for our lungs. Your heart is beating faster and harder, and your stomach has an output of digestive enzymes. You know, there's all of these things. Your muscles become tense, and then you can even see that, you know, your bowel movements are affected and that sort of thing. Blood vessels are being affected and dilated, so that your blood pressure increases. If you're seeing this, then you are definitely in the flight or fight response. That's our primitive response. So you have to look at it and see, how can you manage this? So knowing your mind body type leads to empowerment, and that comes from Ayurveda. A lot of people aren't aware of even what Ayurveda is, even though it's the world's oldest and most comprehensive medical system. There are 3 classifications of mind-body types called the doshas, and Ayurveda originated in India. So the language is a little different, it's Sanskrit. So the 3 doshas are called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And knowing your dosha is powerful information and can help you manage your stress and create balance in your mind, body, and spirit. That's what it's all about, is creating that flow and balance. So stress management approaches such as using different foods. Like for instance, if you're a Pitta person, you don't want to be drinking a lot of coffee because a Pitta person can get fired up really easy. Where if you're a Kapha person, you can get depressed if you're being overwhelmed by stress and that sort of thing. So you do want to drink a little coffee or have some ginger tea and that sort of thing like that. With the Vata, you want to actually drink ginger tea and make sure that you're cutting out coffee. So there's different things that you can do with food to manage your emotions, believe it or not. Exercise is really powerful, and knowing the right exercises for you can be, you know, very much important to how you are going to get rid of that stress. Not everybody resonates with a jog or something like that, but there are different yoga poses that can be very effective and get the energy going to move that stress along for all of the different body types, so the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Doing a daily routine is extremely important. Just having that routine helps you feel empowered and grounded. Grounding techniques themselves, there's so much evidence now that being out in nature, grounding meaning like you're going to the beach or you're going to hug a tree or you're taking off your shoes and feeling the grass, or if you can't do any of these things, I've worked in a lot of elder care facilities that, you know, the folks weren't able to get out, they were end of life, and they really needed to feel grounded. So I would just bring them a plant, or, you know, I did meditation using visualization of different places in nature that they really enjoyed, and it really was effective, just having sound and, you know, bringing them to that space of visualization of those times when they were in nature was extremely powerful. Doing breath work, and I'll explain a little bit about one technique that's extremely powerful for stress management called pranayama breath work, the alternate nostril breathing. And aromatherapy is extremely powerful as well. Meditation practices is the key, though. I want you guys to understand how critical meditation practices are. So I am gonna dive in a little bit with that, and we're gonna try to move quickly because I gotta stay on track with time here. I'm trying to pack in a lot for you on this. But even music and color therapy is used to calm the different doshas, the different mind-body types that are looking for different keys to make them feel calmer. So the fight, flight, freeze, defense response to perceived threats and mind-body imbalances work this way with the different corresponding doshas. So the defense response for a Vata person is avoidance, anxiety, and fear. So if you see any of these characteristics happening when you're faced with a perceived threat, and you actually respond in an avoidance, anxiety, fear-based way, then your corresponding dosha probably is a vata. There's a lot more to it, but that's kind of the key here. Fight, irritability, loss, temper, defensiveness, that's a defensive response of a pitta. And freeze, that's the kapha, that's the numbing, the detachment, the giving up easy, kind of sliding into a dark room and just not wanting to talk to anybody. That is a kapha mind-body type. Knowing all of this, like I said, plays into how do you balance all three of those different body types, mind-body types. So meditation instead of medication. I've been talking about this for years. I'm not saying that you don't take medication, that I have to say my disclaimer, definitely not telling anyone to not take medication that's prescribed for certain conditions. I am, however, saying that if you have medications for anxiety or stress, you can actually look at meditation as a means to looking at putting that practice into your life and seeing if there's a way to get off of the medications, because number one, it costs you money, and number two, it actually, you know, the long-term effects of being on some of these medications is unhealthy. So not every medication, but it's better to be medication free, because you never know what you're going to need down the road for medications for life-threatening illnesses. So you want to be free of as many medications as you can possible, so that you don't have any boundaries on what you need to take for those types of occurrences. So why take time to meditate? So there's so many different researchers that have proven that meditation is really important to brain health, and then also helping you preserve the mindset. So Harvard Medical School, Mass General Hospital, the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, and even the US Department of Health and Human Services has stated that meditation is as important as diet and exercise. So physicians have increasingly started prescribing meditation instead of pills to benefit their patients. And then in 2011, Harvard Medical School said that more than 6 million Americans had been recommended meditation and other mind-body therapies by conventional healthcare providers. So meditation can control your eating habits. It even reduces chronic pain. I've worked with patients that even have rheumatoid arthritis. They're suffering, you know, drastically. You can go to my website, mindhealthcoach.com, and see a couple of the testimonials on that. But reducing chronic pain, it's very powerful for that, especially coupled with emotional freedom technique, which I'm going to get into in a moment, in aromatherapy. So it's all without taking the prescription medication. And I had a gentleman that had rheumatoid arthritis that he just couldn't believe the effects. And you can, as I said, see his testimonial on the mindhealthcoach.com website. And it can even make you happier and less stressed. So that's what this is about, being less stressed. We really want to focus on being less stressed right now, because there's enough, as I mentioned initially, going on in the background in our subconscious, all this stuff that we've got to do, get the mask, get the hand sanitizer, make sure you're 6 feet away. This is stressful. This is a new way of life that's, you know, uncomfortable. We're not able to celebrate in the same ways. We're not able to go into restaurants and let our hair loose. So we've got to look for different ways to manage the stress and find our joy, find unique ways that will help us navigate through this and find our source of joy. So numerous studies show that 12 to 27 minutes per day for 8 weeks actually results in, of meditation we're talking about, it actually results in significant improvements to brain function. And this was really important to me because I, as I said, work with a lot of Alzheimer's patients, and to see the devastation that takes place on the family unit, and not only to the person that has the dementia, Alzheimer's themselves, but just like the whole family unit. So many people are affected. And in fact, 1 in 5 caregivers are actually documented to pass before their loved ones with Alzheimer's pass. So that's pretty dramatic to know that 1 in 5 people that are caring for their loved one with close caring contact usually aren't taking good care of themselves because they're so busy caring for the other person. And so with that kind of knowledge, I think we all need to honor our responsibility to doing everything we can to help improve our brain health. And it results in overall wellness, actually, when you do this meditation process. But it did show signs of growth of gray brain matter. These studies showed growth of gray brain matter in the areas of learning, language, and compassion, which are the first areas of the brain to decline in diseases such as Alzheimer's. So very powerful studies that came out about 10 years ago. And I have just been really advocating for everyone to look at meditation for a long time, but it's so powerful in so many ways. And I'm going to show you why. So meditation to produce a restful awareness response. The body relaxes and you bypass the reactive response. So when you say, okay, it's not like you're going to be able to be in a situation where you're getting agitated or whatever the occurrence is, and just go into meditation. That's not what I'm saying, but maybe the more you meditate, your perceptions can shift. That's really what the evidence shows, that your perceptions shift and you have different neural pathways that are built in your brain to interpret the information coming towards you. So that means if you're in this restful awareness response every day from 12 minutes to 27 minutes, you actually start to think differently. And so you actually start to react differently because you're perceiving things differently. So the internal reference shifts from your ego to your spirit. Like you're kind of asking that question, okay, well, why is this scenario coming around for me? Like instead of why is this happening to me, you're asking why is this happening for me? And so I think we all need to acknowledge that the pandemic is happening for us because we have to be more mindful of our health and of the health of the planet. That is my interpretation at this point. And that's not to discount all the pain and suffering that's going on. I actually know people personally that have passed from COVID-19. So it's not to discount any of the seriousness of that, but we're all asking, why is this happening? And so we need to understand that it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And that's what my perception is. So witness the activity of mind and become capable of conscious choice making. And it's best cultivated through the practice of meditation. And what happens to the body during the meditation practice is the blood pressure goes down, respiration goes down, perspiration goes down, heart rate goes down, plate stickiness goes down, stress hormones go down, and anti-aging hormones go up. So that's really fabulous if you're like me and you're hitting 50. So meditation, it can be done intimate in a group. And one study showed that 20 million Americans say that they practice meditation. So it's to engage in contemplation or reflection. That's the dictionary's definition. A mental exercise such as concentration on breath, repetition of mantra, and it helps you to reach spiritual awareness. So that is kind of the definition, but there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot of options and ways to meditate. A lot of people are not aware of that. But a little more scientific explanation of meditation is, I want to let you know, if you're listening and I haven't put you to sleep yet, you're in beta brainwave state. So you're alert, you're concentrating, you're thinking about this whole situation, and you're kind of observing and learning. Alpha brainwave state is not that. That's when we're that in between sleep and this beta brainwave state. And I describe it like, if you can remember when you were a kid and you wanted to go do your favorite thing, and you would be sitting at school and daydreaming about that wonderful thing that you wanted to do. that's a form of meditation. Or if you're praying and you're really focused on healing thoughts and loving thoughts for others, that's a form of meditation. If you're focused on your breath and you're just relaxing and you're just kind of zoning out, listening to birds, or, you know, at the ocean, zoning out, this is alpha brainwave state. This is meditation. So theta is sleep and delta is a deep sleep. And we don't often get into alpha brainwave state enough, and that's why we've seen a rise in you know, different things that are happening to us with autoimmune disorder and diabetes and heart disease. It's because we're not being in that state of alpha brainwave state where we're able to process our emotions in a state of consciousness. So what are some things people, you know, often come to me as a meditation teacher and they say, oh gosh, I can't do it. Meditation's not for me. I've even heard nurses say, nope, can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I've taught CEU programs for many years and have heard many people tell me they don't have enough time or they just can't get into it. Well, as I described, you have those different brainwave states and we all have them unless there's, you know, a health issue going on. You can get into the alpha brainwave state. You just need to know what is going on in you, that unprocessed emotion that will help you release. And you can even do that with meditation to release the emotion. But if you're having a hard time, you're feeling agitated, it's okay. There's a book, there's a great book that I teach my classes around, and it's called 21 stages of meditation. It's very good information about how you can get frustrated. Even the most advanced yogis can get upset, frustrated in their meditation. It's a process. So this is normal, and it's just, you don't have to be judgmental to yourself because you don't feel like you're successful. If you're trying and you're actually in that state of being where you're kind of zoning out, even if you're thinking about things, that is okay. Self-care techniques, self-massage, sitting positions, yoga, walking, running, any form of exercise, the pranayama breath work, focusing on something like a mantra, doing the breath, image, sound, guided meditation. You know, I sell guided meditations that I recorded several years ago. And I think there's one that I'm giving away for free called the cleansing meditation at Mind Health Coach right now. And it's about 15 minutes long. Using environment, so nature, lighting, sound, scents with essential oils. And the EFT, I mentioned that as the first item. EFT is the tapping points. And if you want to get a complete chart with all the instructions on EFT, you can email me at info@mindhealthcoach.com and I will send that out to you. But it's not actually putting needles in like acupuncture, but you're tapping on different acupuncture points and you're using deep breaths and you're bringing in affirmations. You can journal about whatever the emotional freedom that you're looking for, what's the triggering circumstance. I teach a whole class around that, so it's kind of hard to get into it in a half hour's time. Ayurveda, I go back to that because with the exception of EFT, all of the things that I've been talking about are all wrapped into the Ayurvedic lifestyle. And it is India's 5,000-year-old traditional system of medicine. It's a subset of the traditions of the Vedas, which is considered to be the oldest written text on the study of life. So Ayurveda is a sister science to yoga, but the focus is on balancing the mind in relation to the body. And we kind of talked about that with the doshas and those are the mind-body types. So the essence of the Ayurveda teachings was developed to diagnose the imbalances in the mind and body in the form of disease. So treatments are done through herbal medicine and other natural remedies. And Ayurveda theory and principles are based on the study of the natural world and shared some of the basic constituents that are being looked at today by modern science. So that's why you're seeing all this evidence of meditation and yoga and different you know, supplements that are advised to be doing with modern day medicine. So a sample of a daily regimen for well-being, you know, you're just basically going through all the senses. And when I teach about Ayurveda, I actually go into each of the processes that we recommend to do things for cleansing your teeth, your tongue. There's oil pulling, there's tongue scraping, there's neti pots, there's rose mist for the eyes. There's all kinds of oils, and you can combine them with essential oils. But making sure you're sleeping in the right times of day with the circadian rhythms is critical to your well-being, and that's another expanded class to be involved in. So these are all things that you can learn more about. I do have availability for those teachings. I have a Ayurvedic introduction to Ayurvedic class coming up the weekend after Memorial Day weekend, and that is actually the day after Memorial Day, the 26th, Tuesday the 26th at 5:30. I am doing an intro to Ayurvedic lifestyle. So if you're interested in that, you can email me at info@mindhealthcoach.com. And yoga is a big part of Ayurveda. You know, we've got to release that energy, and that's really what the poses are about. Like, you know, a lot of people do it for you know, strengthening, these are all important aspects of why you do yoga: balance, strengthening, and toning. But in ancient times, they did the practice of yoga to have the ultimate meditation, so you could have the ultimate spiritual connection and, you know, result in a spiritual existence. So yoga today, for a lot of people that are doing yoga, there's a different motivation. But if you're to know that this is supposed to be extremely meaningful, all of these poses, and making sure that you're releasing the energy, you know, not everybody does all of these poses, even if you're trying to achieve the spiritual aspect. These are just, you know, some fun examples of the poses. But yoga is so critical to just releasing energy and getting ready for having that ultimate meditation. So the alternate nostril breathing, I'm kind of going over, so I'm gonna end with the alternate nostril breathing. You can find a lot of videos on YouTube that show you this, but it's very powerful stuff, and it actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system and gets you energized at the same time. So parasympathetic nervous system relaxes you, and the other piece of it bringing energy and vitality to you, waking your brain up on both sides of your hemispheres. Very good stuff. So that's what we do when we're breathing with pranayama breath work. And so I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just, a reminder here is 12 to 27 minutes per day. And after 8 weeks, you see your brain restructured with meditation practices, getting comfortable in breathing, having an attitude of gratitude, connecting with, you know, whatever your belief system is, very important for meditation and releasing of emotions, getting in nature, having powerful intentions for yourself and others, healing thoughts for yourself and others, and using different things. There's something called binaural beats. That's the one thing that I haven't talked about yet. So binaural beats are really cool. You can look them up online, and they synchronize your brain. You can choose binaural beats that help you relax. And essential oils, really good stuff to help you just get in a space. Like, I would recommend lavender, sandalwood is great. Citrus scents are really powerful to help you get rid of anxiety and stress. And then clary sage and frankincense is really kind of expensive, but you can get it in incense form, and it's helpful for bringing your anxiety or you know, feeling stressed down. And so don't beat yourself up if you're not meditating right away. Practice, practice, practice. It depends on practice. So the Dalai Lama, he says this practice is what we need to be doing. And this is how you can get in touch with me. And I'm sorry, I went a little bit over. I was trying to pack in a lot of information. So if there's any questions, I'm not sure if there's any questions.
Thanks, Leah. I do have a few questions here. Thank you for that. It was very educational, and certainly if folks do want more information, I'm glad that Leah shared her information with you. Someone asked, how do you know your dosha type?
Yeah, so there's a quiz, And, you know, I have that quiz. So if you want that quiz, you just have to email me, info@mindhealthcoach.com. I'll send you the quiz. You add it up, you calculate it yourself, and you can determine which dosha you are.
Great. And then you talked a lot about meditation and trying to incorporate it into your lifestyle. And a few people on here are asking, as a beginner, what recommendations you have to get started? Is there one place that you think is the easiest to get started if you're new to this?
Yeah, I think that, you know, meditation, it's very misunderstood and intimidating because we think it's like this, you know, really hard thing, but it's just our natural brain function. So it's just a matter of allowing yourself the time and space. So when I started meditating, it was over 20 years ago, and I used guided meditations. And a lot of people love guided meditations, but some people get frustrated with them and they say, I can't do that. Either going to a place of nature is extremely powerful, or the guided meditations, you know, and I think that it kind of depends on what mood you're in. So you can try these different things, explore is what I say.
Great. And I know you talked about essential oils. Someone on here asked if there are any specific herbs or supplements that you recommend.
Well, I really, you know, am careful about recommending exactly without knowing, you know, what is the person's situation. But there are, I can also email a list of different Ayurvedic herbs that are general, and have the descriptions of what each would do, and they can check with their pharmacist or
Great.
doctor. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Those are all the questions I have here. Is there anything you wanted to add before we wrap up?
No, I just think that everybody should, you know, understand that we're going through this transition, and I'm not saying we're grateful for having such hard times, but I think there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll all get through this. And there might be some things that are very challenging, but I have to tell you, I've had Lyme disease. In 2018, I almost died of Lyme disease and spinal meningitis. So, you know, I've had my own life challenges that I used these techniques with. I was very sick in the hospital, and you know, I found that the meditation, the deep breathing, it got me through. So there's empowerment there, you know, and when you reach and achieve that sacred level, when I listed out the different levels of where you can get to, I think that you understand that this is just a challenge, that, you know, it's not an end all be all.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. So inspiring. I do know of others that share similar stories where when it comes down to nutrition and these practices, it really has made a difference in their life. And so I'm glad that you came back today. So I just want to say thank you to Leah for providing us with this session today. And thank you to all of you for joining in. It's always great to have our alumni back, especially presenting to all of you. And we do have a few upcoming webinars, so keep your eye open for them. And if you need assistance or have any questions with anything, please feel free to reach out to the alumni office. We're here to help, and we hope that everyone stays healthy and safe. Thank you.
Thank you.